Hello, citizens of the verse! The Q&A on the Cyclone was released today, and having followed this concept sale very closely so far, I wanted to put out a video with a brief summary of each one of the questions for you. Not surprising, the first question is, what ship will the Cyclone fit into? And unfortunately, we don't have any more information than we already had on this one. The bottom line is that anything that fits an Ursa will fit the Cyclone, which means definitely a constellation, but no specifics were given if it's going to fit into anything else like the Caterpillar or Starfarer. They did give new measurements for the Cyclone, which are length 5.71 meters, beam 3.25 meters, and a height of 2.26 meters, all of which are smaller amounts than the previous information they had given on it. I did take measurements on something we know will fit into these ships, and that's the Merlin. The Merlin stands at a height of 2.2 meters, and it barely fits inside both of them, while the Cyclone now stands at a height of 2.26 meters. So I'm thinking it's going to either barely fit into them, or it's just barely not going to. No specifics have been given on this. The second question asked if the variants are going to be modular, and the answer is not now, but maybe in the future. I was a little surprised by this, and more than a little disappointed to hear it as well. The third question is how much cargo can it carry, and the answer was 1 SCU's worth of cargo. You can get a clear idea of how much space this is by looking at the standard Cyclone in the Holo Viewer. The next question was about the scanner and what exactly it can detect. The answer was anything with an IR or EM signature. The difficulty of picking up that signature will depend on the output of your equipment, but it won't by default be able to detect derelicts or abandoned cargo or other forms of various kinds of loot. One of the interesting takeaways from this question was that it was stated that the RN has an upgraded radar system with a longer range than the standard Cyclone. This means that they all have this ability inherent to them. It's just that the RN is going to be much better at it and comes with databanks that can store larger amounts of scan data to help with mapping a planet's surface. Question 5 was how fast can the Cyclone go and how does it compare to the Ursa and Lynx? No specifics are currently available, but they do intend the Cyclone to be faster in speed and acceleration than the Ursa. They are aiming for it to be twice as fast, with the RC being even faster still when boosting. Will it launch with 3.0? And the answer to that is no. But you will get an Ursa as a loaner vehicle. This next question is one that I was happy to see addressed by the devs, and was one of the more imaginative and interesting questions that I'd seen posted on the Spectrum threads. And that is, what happens if your Cyclone ends up on its side or back, and can we flip it if it does? I feel like they tiptoed too much around the answer to this one. It was stated that the Cyclone features jump jet thrusters that are meant to stabilize the vehicle when airborne, but that doesn't render it immune to being flipped or pitch poling when going over challenging terrain. They made a joke about this, but it looks like there's no mechanic in place at the moment if this happens to you. Next, it was asked if the exposed cockpit would leave the driver vulnerable to one-hit kills. The Cyclone shield should prevent this from happening. More info on this shield will be available after the Cyclone has been implemented into the game. The next question was about the pros and cons of the Cyclone when compared to the other land vehicles. The Cyclone is meant to be middle of the road, somewhere between the Ursa and the Nox with regards to speed and durability. It should be able to handle nearly any kind of terrain and has good stability at high speeds, with a decreased turning radius at lower speeds. Question 10 asks if the co-pilot will be able to fire a personal weapon when seated. This functionality is not in the game, but they do intend for it to be. There is currently no ETA on this feature. It was asked if the Cyclone will be able to pull a trailer. The answer to that is no. When asked about the AA's ability to rearm missiles, it was said that it will rearm in the same way that the ship rearms its missile racks. And lastly, my favorite, it was asked if the Cyclone, being a wheeled vehicle, will have less of a detectable signature. The answer to that was, it will have a similar EM signature to something like the Nox or Dragonfly, but a much lower IR signature unless you're racing around at top speeds. Thank you for your time, and I hope that this answers some of the questions that you may still have about the Cyclone. Links to the original article can be found in the video's description. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day, and I look forward to seeing you again in the next video.